So there's a lot of things in medicine that are of unknown or unseen etiology. And unfortunately, in infertility, 40% of the time, it's this. And getting them to wrap their heads around this concept that, listen here, it's an unseen thing. There's definitely something going on, but you can't see what it is. And then, but you can still move on. So getting that concept, is a challenge.
You see, when you work with male patients, right, what do you wish they knew earlier?
Having said that male factor is common, the recognition has increased, the acceptance has increased, and many a time we can fix the problem, and 1/3 of them is combined cause and all those things I've said. One of the important bits of information that couples also need to be aware is that the egg and the sperm have not been created equally. So everybody likes to think that it's a 50-50 partnership. The reality of life is that it's not at all a 50-50 partnership. Sperm pretty, the inconvenient truth is that the sperm pretty insignificant compared to the egg. That is the inconvenient truth. Okay? As much as we like to think that it's a 50-50 partnership, I'm equally important, blah, 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 in order to get to the next level. But the reality of life is that the egg is actually much more potent and much more influential in the outcome as in comparison to the sperm. So the translation of this information is that you can have a crappy sperm, but if the egg is potent enough, you can get away with it.
Oh, really? I didn't know
I
that.
didn't know that.
You can get away with it.
But
Okay?
if you turn it the other way around?
Yes, if you turn it the other way around, you can have the most perfect sperm, although we do not know what the most perfect sperm is. This is a hypothetical
100%.
perfect sperm.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's no way of identifying that most, in fact, nobody even knows what it is. But if you hypothetically had the most perfect sperm, but if you had a problematic egg, probably not going to get away with it. Okay, and this is a very important concept because a lot of couples out there who are not at your age, okay, they're probably in the late 30s, and she's realized, I think we have an issue. Okay, I think we have an issue, and he says, no, don't worry about it. Let's just work a bit harder. I think we haven't been concentrating. We haven't been trying. We haven't been trying hard enough. That's the famous phrase. I don't think we've been trying hard enough. And I always want to ask, what do you mean by that?
Have you asked the patient
Yeah,
that?
no, I don't know. I don't know how to ask.
I know, because I can understand.
I don't know how to ask without sounding cynical.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, I know.
hello, you've been together for 5 years. What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
We haven't been trying hard enough. And I go like, all right, fine. So in addition to trying harder, maybe there's some other things that we can do. That's the only way that you can move it. So they don't. So she understands, or she admits that I think there's a delay, but he doesn't seem to think that is. So let's try. So there's nothing wrong with saying that. Let's do it. Let's try harder. Let's get more serious. Let's work at this. But you need to understand, you can talk. Because if the sperm is fine, because if it's not, then you can't talk. You can't talk. But if the sperm is fine, but her age is progressing, and that's going to make a difference. And that's my fear. That in all this, let's, set up the KPIs and the timelines and all those charts and bars and tables. her time is slowly moving along. And because the sperm and the egg are not built equally, we are going to start to lose out. And I unfortunately, this is one of my biggest fears, that people don't realize that time is important. Because not everybody is starting at 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? The box standard average person out there, lady out there, the alarm bell only goes off at 35.
Mm.
At 35. And all of a sudden at 35, you see them. Oh, I think I have a problem. And they've been, they're not, and because that's when the alarm bell goes off. And I'm okay with that if the egg numbers are shown to be appropriate for somebody who's 35. I'm okay. Then we are still all right because we've still got time to do things and get away. And but if supposing your egg numbers are lesser than expected, then we've got issues. Then we are going to have issues. Okay, so that is what I fear them. So I suppose I just wanted to say that if at all there was a take-home point about this, age, because the egg and the sperm are not equal partners,
Yeah.
age, female age, and egg numbers are by far the two most important determining factors of ultimate success. Bottom line.
Wow. Hence why I think egg freezing is quite a big thing now as well.
Yes. It's the next. Yes. It should be the next big thing.
And I mean, speaking on like you mentioned about egg numbers and age and everything, just out of curiosity, doctor, have you ever had to tell a woman that she actually can't, she will never be able to have a child? Have you ever had to have that conversation?
Yes. And it's actually quite common. It's actually reasonably common. But of course, I don't say it that way. Okay, I don't say it that way. So, you'll get somebody coming through the door and she's 46. And it doesn't really matter when she started. She could have started 5 years ago, or she could have just gotten married 2 years ago. I mean, so some of them find themselves in that position out of a lack of choice. Some of them find themselves in that position because they've just let things slide, and then suddenly find themselves in that position. And then they'll say, let's do IVF. Okay? And you'd go like, yes, you can, but your chances of success are very, very low. And I think you're going to have to know that, because you're going to have to go through many cycles to collect eggs. There are not going to be a lot of eggs. And then you're going to have to fertilize it with the sperm. You're probably not going to get embryos. If you do get embryos, then you're probably going to find that those embryos are genetically not capable of implanting. So after very much effort of going through many cycles and and a lot of time and money and effort spent, you may not get that one embryo that's going to give you pregnancy. Now, having said that, so you've already sort of managed because many of them think that IVF is like, it's like, okay, fine, call the contractor. I'll pay you the money. Fix that.
Yeah.
I always wanted the roof to be like that. Okay, I've never liked this. So now I've got that money. I want you to come and fix it. Make me happy. It doesn't work that way. Okay, because some things just can't be fixed in that way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there are no options, but I'm just saying that may not be an option. So having adjusted the perception a little bit, then you go to the next step and say, at 46, you probably not going to get that embryo that is genetically normal to give you the pregnancy.
So it's just the way how you feel.
So it's
like,
one step down, and then the next step down. Okay, rather than saying, "Hey, it's not going to happen."
Yeah.
Okay, because then that's not the way you do things.
Yeah, correct.
And the final thing that you're going to have to tell them is that the world record of the oldest person to get pregnant with IVF using their own eggs
Mm.
is in the US. There's one 48-year-old. There are
Wow.
two 47-year-olds. And in this neck of the woods, in Asia and down south, Australia, New Zealand, and that includes, mainland China and everywhere else, there's not been a single person above the age of 45 who has gotten pregnant with their own eggs.
Mm.
The key word being 45 with their
Their
own eggs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing there are many that were able to get donor eggs. Mm. Oh, wow.
Okay. So that's that sentence is important because you need to manage their expectations.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the most. So for us, giving that information is easy because it's never happened. So unless you have somebody sitting in front of you, and I have, who think that they could break that world record.
Mm.
I had a 52-year-old who once came. Oh yes,
Wow.
and I spoke and I spoke and I spoke and finally looked at the husband and said, "You talk to her."
Oh wow. But
Okay,
the
you talk to
resilience,
her. And but you can tell that there's a lot of psychological baggage there. Okay, so I dug a bit deeper because I'm very curious. I was very curious why somebody would want to part with that kind of money after all that I've said. I mean,
that makes sense. Yeah.
why? And then, she told me that, in many years, because we've been together for a long time, and all those years when I wasn't able to get pregnant, and clearly he was the one who was not encouraging her to go down the treatment route. And she said every time there was a moment or a situation that needed somebody who was married. I think, sometimes marriages and all that, they require somebody who's got kids or something like that. I mean, there's always this ceremonial things that happen. And she felt very left out and, very cast away kind of a thing. And I think that kind of built
In her,
in
like
her.
a sense of worth
Yes,
issue kind of
yes.
thing.
And I think he got the blame because I think maybe he was the blame. So then, fast forward all these years, she felt that it's payback time. That's the thing. It was only once, but it was interesting. So the difficulty is when you are in that transition, 42, 43, 44, it's still theoretically possible. So that conversation, of course, takes a different tone.
Fair enough. But just out of curiosity, just asking, like, I think for you when you see patients, what is normally the age bracket that you would see?
So yeah, so as I told you before, because the egg and the sperm are not equal, we are only interested in the lady.
Okay.
We are only interested in her age. We're not so interested in his age, unless of course he walks through the door with a walking stick. Then I'm interested.
So meaning that the quality of
And
the
there's
sperm
usually a
doesn't-
story behind that one, but anyway.
No, but just wondering, coming back to that, so that means because age is a thing for women.
Yeah.
So for
So for men,
the sperm deteriorated as you age.
yes, it does. But the cutoff is a bit different. So if you look at the graph of egg numbers, okay. Now, assuming that egg quality, which in most circumstances is related to age, okay. So we accept that that is the case. So we then look at numbers, and clearly there's a very clear, obvious relationship between age and egg numbers. Okay, very clear. So if you look at the graph, there's a slight, of course, there's a progressive drop with age, but the drop at 30 is not significant. The drop at 35 is a bit more significant. And then it becomes more significant at 37 and 38 and 39 and then and 40 onwards. So the graph drops in a more significant manner. So and that's so those are the age points that are of interest to us. But for men, the sperm counts have been shown to deteriorate with age, but that age-related deterioration occurs at 50. 50. 50.
Ah,
At 50. But that is age-related deterioration. Okay, so we don't often get husbands coming through the door who are so widely disparate in terms of age. You know, you don't get a 30-year-old lady coming in with a 50-year-old husband.
Okay.
It can happen. It's rare, lah. It's rare. You know. So if you see a husband who's 50, then the fear that comes into us is she 46? Is she 46? Okay. So yeah. So most of the time, we are more interested in her age. And I think that the answer to your question is that if you look at the vast majority, if you look at the largest age group, it's between 35 and 40.
I think like even earlier we were talking a little bit about like IVF and stuff, right, doctor? You mentioned earlier. I think oftentimes what results in people not getting help early, I think one part of it, of course, stigma, social stigma, but another bit of it is also cost.
Of course.
Yeah, I think like
Absolutely.
oftentimes when we talk about IVF, it's automatically alarm bells go off. They are like already panicking. What is your take on that? Like, how has that been? Has that changed over the years, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so you're quite right. Okay, so if you look at all the factors that prevent people from stepping forward and asking for help, so there's so many: fear of being judged, fear of being blamed. Then there's also the concern about the demands in terms of time and finances and so on and so forth. If you push the treatment agenda forward, no fault of the patient. There's also the fear of being pushed in a direction that you do not want to be pushed at or pushed in by the person who's seeing you. Okay, and I can totally understand. I mean, because you know, in 2025, the world has become like that, and even us doctors have concerns. I recently, needed some dental work, and I had to do a lot of research, and because I understand how patients feel. You want to go somewhere where you feel that the treatment that you're going to get is going to be reasonable and of a fair quality, and more importantly, that the person that you're going to see is someone that you can trust.
Yeah, correct.
And it's not easy anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not easy anymore. So even I have to do that kind of asking around and research, and technically it's very close to our field of work. I mean, medical, dental, whatever it is, so I can understand where patients are coming from. So when you look at those things, so those are all the stress factors. But you are right. The most important stress factor is cost. But that is unfortunately the case because the drugs are expensive. Okay, there's no way around that. The drugs are expensive and the technology is expensive. So that's one thing that you really cannot, get away from. On a more positive note, if you looked at the cost of IVF over the last 20 years, okay, and you compared that to all the other changes in terms of inflation, okay, inflation and how how cost of treatment, medical treatment has been in the news lately for all the wrong reasons. So the interesting thing that you will observe is that over that period of time, IVF cost has not technically gone up in a phenomenal way.
Okay.
So if you actually found somebody who had IVF 20 years ago, okay, they would have probably paid the same amount of money, or maybe just marginally less, because at that time, economics of scale and so on and so forth. So it was quite an expensive procedure and cost even at that point in time, 20 years ago. So it hasn't escalated in any way close to the way other things have escalated over time. So that's very interesting. Okay, because it's very easy for us to say, chocolate bar used to cost 10 ringgit before, and now it's the same cost, but it's half the size.
Oh my my gosh, yeah, we hear that.
Which I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a phenomenal gimmick, but there you are. And I always laugh when I see this, in the supermarket, and I think how the price has remained the same, but the product is half the size.
The potato chips got more angin now.
Yeah.
So and then sometimes it's not so easy because the box size may have remained the same, but the
Correct.
contents are lighter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's easy for us to laugh at those things, but interestingly, when you look at IVF cost, interestingly, that hasn't happened.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the cost has gone up, yes, but it hasn't gone up in that kind of far from that. Far from that. So using the same analogy, IVF was not $10,000 20 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
Never.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, never. Okay, it's probably somewhere close to that. About the same as what you're paying today. Maybe 10% or 20% less, but that's it. Okay, so it was not cheap even before. But yet, you are not getting half the product. You're getting double the product for that cost
Because of
the
technology.
pregnancy
Yes.
rates have gone up.
Correct.
Correct.
Because the pregnancy rates have gone up. So if it took you this amount of effort at that cost to get you one baby, it's probably now taking you half the effort at that cost to get the baby. Okay, so that's the other interesting point
Yeah.
about things.
Interesting.
Okay, but having said that, I don't want to downplay the fact that it is expensive.
Yeah.
It is expensive because now you are not only just fighting with cost in terms of paying for IVF and blah blah blah, but you got housing loans and car loans and not to mention the pressures that come with that. So it's fighting
Please.
with all the other players who demanding your attention of your paycheck. And of course, the last thing that I wanted to say was that two things that have the two big positives in terms of cost is that you now can dip into EPF,
Yes.
okay, account 2, which was actually something that was given to us by the Honorable Prime Minister's wife when she was the Deputy Prime Minister. Okay, in 2018, when she came in as the Deputy Prime Minister, this is one of the things that she introduced. That you allow people to dip into their EPF account too as a way of helping them out. And of course, the second thing is, of course, income tax deduction.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was something that came in a couple of years ago, not so long, and recently was increased to 10,000. Yeah. So if you think about it, if you have got a couple, both of whom are taxpayers, and they're doing IVF towards the later part of the year, then you claim a bit on this side, and then you get to claim because the treatment, is
Yes.
obviously staggered over time.
So just an interesting question I would like to ask you, Doctor. So I think actually after when, I think on one of the visits we came to meet you and we walked out, we were actually at the counter paying, and we actually saw your book, all right? And so it was funny, I looked at the book.
Which
and
is
I
now
said,
free, by the way.
Yeah. So I said, hey, that's Dr. Eason's book. And, and then we said, okay, you know
Let's buy
what?
it.
So we actually bought it. And honestly speaking,
Should ask for a refund.
it was,
No, but just
Honestly-
on a side note, I've been trying to get him to read books on fertility, right?
Yeah.
But it just was too complicated. But I think
this was actually my first proper book reading. I still have not completed it, but I loved it because it was written in very simple layman terms, to be very honest. So my question I want to ask you is, Doctor, what actually inspired you to write this book?
Okay, so when I've always felt that knowledge is the cornerstone of everything. Not just fertility, but if you're interested in finance, if you wanted to buy shares, or you want to dabble in the stock market or whatever it is, I mean, you could do the easy thing and just go and ask somebody and say, do it for me. But if you were not that kind of a person, and if you wanted to do it for yourself, then you have no choice, but you have to arm yourself with knowledge on how the thing works, and therefore and build on that. And that would be the cornerstone of success. So I've always felt that people need to know, couples need to understand how this thing works, and so that they can then achieve success, because they understand how it works, and they don't get intimidated by what they're being asked to do or what their choices are and how they make those choices. Because it's not easy. There's a whole new thing to them. I mean, they walked through the door and they said, my neighbor got pregnant 1 month after she got married. My usual response to that is, hey, she may have been pregnant even before she got married. And usually they'll all go like, they'll all give me the look. But I think the point that they're trying to make is quite clear. The point they make is quite clear. For some people, it's just so easy. It happens. It's effortless. They don't have to think about it. And why is it that we have to think about it? Why do I have extra work to do? And I said, it is what it is. Okay. So now that it's become an issue, the delay, you now have to understand how it works, because it's a whole new thing. And if you don't understand how it works, it becomes progressively more difficult to make informed decisions. Okay? And if you are not, it's even difficult for me because I'm sometimes left with the difficult decision of making decisions for them, which then exposes me to the possibility that they may have unexpected or unmet expectations. I thought you said this was definitely going to work. An IUI with 20% pregnancy rate. I mean, 20% pregnancy rate tells you 20%, but they don't hear that. They don't hear that, So that, so I thought by, trying to educate them and making them more knowledgeable, that helps them and us. Yes. And it was written intentionally for anybody.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good book, and I think I haven't yet completed, but I'll be completing
Our
it
difficulty
soon.
with the book is that people don't read books.
Like we love reading. So I've been reading even before I got that book, like I got this, these other books on fertility and stuff, but it was very complicated. And sometimes there's a lot of fear as well
Yes.
while you're reading, but I don't remember feeling that way. So it's
And I was quite fortunate as well because it was, to be honest with you, it started off as the idea was a booklet, but it just grew and grew and grew, and then I was fortunate that that MPH agreed. That too after a second phone call, because the first line email said no, not interested. But somebody said, no, I think you're going to have to speak to the boss, and then they said, oh yeah, definitely interested. Oh, all right. And I was quite fortunate. The illustrations were done by a very talented person, who I found. Good fun.
Lovely. So it looks like we've come to the part of the
Almost
last
the
part
end.
of it, which is what we call it as our rapid fire rounds. So it's just short answers. All right. So maybe we will go with a 1-2. We'll start off. Yeah.
So the idea of it is just short answers, doctor, of these questions that we're gonna throw at you, so you can.
Perfect. I'll hit it off
I
first.
have to make sure that the short answer is the correct answer.
Okay.
So first one would be a belief about fertility you wish more people challenged.
That it cannot be fixed. Some people believe that it can't be fixed, and that's a myth. As I said, the younger you are and the more eggs you have, the higher the chance. So as long as you're not 46, in fact, even if you're 46, so this is an area I don't want to go into, but I tell them, having told them all those things I told you earlier, and I said that it's never been done before, blah, blah, blah. But I always tell them that if you want to be pregnant, you can. So read between the lines.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yes.
A moment in your medical career that you will never forget, that stayed with you till today.
That's a tough one. But as I told you, there are many episodes that But I suppose, in all fairness, passing my exams, my postgraduate exams were probably the most,
Okay. Oh, nice.
because that was tough enough.
A principle you live by inside and outside the clinic.
Yeah. Be honest, work hard.
Have you ever cried with a patient?
Oh, that's a tricky one. That happens very often, but no, I haven't cried. Yeah. But I think that there are many emotional moments. There are many, many emotional, especially in our setting. Yeah, in our setting. Those who get pregnant will cry, some who don't get pregnant will cry, and then cries of joy, cries of sadness, or but I think, yeah, but that's part of the job. It's part of the job.
So on a lighter note, nasi lemak or roti canai?
Roti canai, less calories.
Milo ice or teh ice limau?
Ais kosong. I used to be 90 kilos at one point of time in my life.
Wow.
I used to be 90 kilos at one point in time in my life. And of course, it was a long time ago. Our understanding of the problem was not great. We didn't understand the wonders of low carb, high protein, blah, 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 things that I didn't have the information. So my son has the same problem that I have. But because I have that information and he understands that information and he applies that information, so he's able to work on it. Okay. But I didn't have that information, so I stayed 90 kilos for a long time. So I stayed 90 kilos for a long time until I finally lost it. And I ain't going back. I ain't going back. Okay. So my nurses laugh at me, at my oatmeal breakfast. And he says, oh, yeah, oats. I said, yeah, it is what it is. Watch them eat their nasi lemak every morning. It is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. The last final one to any of our viewers who are watching this, and if they are at their brink of giving up, what would you tell them?
You can always achieve success. Success is how you define it. Okay? And unless you belong to that very small minority, and again, with apologies, I'm referring to somebody who is above 50, who comes along and says, I want to be pregnant, then unfortunately, the answer is probably going to be no. Because the science of it tells us that if you are above 50 getting pregnant, doesn't matter how, then you're putting yourself at risk. But when you're under 50 and you've got no other, medical issues, like, you're not a badly controlled diabetic or someone with a heart condition, then the science of it tells us that being pregnant does not predispose you or not endanger your life. So you can be helped. The question is, which path do you want to choose? If you sit there at 47 and say, I want to get pregnant and I want to use my own eggs, then that's a bit tricky, isn't it? That's a bit like, say, like your husband telling you, like, come and join me for a walk this evening. We're going hiking. Then he takes you to this hill and you look up and it's so high up. And you ask him, has anyone done this? No. It's never been done. Let's be the first. I mean, that's a different kind of challenge. So you can't challenge yourself at that level and then become disappointed that you don't achieve success. That's being unreasonable to yourself.
Correct.
But if you're not in that position, which is the position that the vast majority of people are in, life is about choices. Okay? You can't say that I want to get pregnant, one cycle of IVF. My AMH is 4. I mean, if your AMH is 4, you want to do one cycle. If you're 32 years old, you might still get away with it. But if you're 39 years old with an AMH of 4, probably not. But if you say that I'm willing to do 3 cycles, then it's a numbers game, isn't it? Is 39 46? No. AMH of 4 is not AMH 0.1. So you will be able to get something. So the vast majority of people play this game. It's a numbers game. If you work hard enough, you will get success. But if you start putting unrealistic obstacles in front of yourself, you know, either due to circumstances that you can or cannot control. I mean, if you say that I can only afford one cycle, then okay, that's fine. I understand that part. Okay. But if you say that I have the money, but I don't want to do it,
That's
and then want to be upset that you don't achieve success, I mean, that's being unreasonable, right? Does that make sense?
So there's of course, Doctor. So there's always hope.
There's always
Yes,
hope.
always
There's
hope.
always
If you're
hope.
willing
Yeah.
to reach out, get on with it, and work at it,
That's very reassuring to hear. Thank you so much, Doctor.
most welcome.
We are at the end of our episode. So, to all our viewers, I hope that this session has been incredibly insightful as much as it has been for us. If you're on your own fertility journey, whether you're looking for knowledge, whether you're looking for some sort of support, or even just clarity, just know that you're not alone. Dr. Eason and his team at Sanford International Fertility Center are incredibly helpful. We will link all of their contact details in the description of this episode.
So please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Here's to the turning points that shaped us.